Did you know that after the age of 60, more than half of men already show some degree of prostate enlargement, and many don't even suspect it? What starts as just a few extra trips to the bathroom can evolve into something much more serious. According to the Brazilian Society of Urology, up to 80% of men over 70 suffer from benign prostatic hyperplasia, a condition that causes weak urine stream, a constant feeling of a full bladder, recurring infections, and poor sleep at night. But the worst part is that many of these silent cases end up becoming the gateway to more serious diseases, such as chronic inflammation, urinary retention, and even prostate cancer, which is currently the second deadliest type among elderly men. And all of this happens gradually, with no pain at first, but with a daily discomfort that destroys quality of life. You wake up 2, 3, sometimes 6 times a night. You go to the bathroom, but never feel like you've emptied. You spend the day with discomfort, insecurity, fear, and silence. But what if I told you that an 87-year-old man managed to recover his prostate health naturally, without surgery, without side effects, and without waking up in the middle of the night anymore? Today you will hear the story of Senor Pedro and the 6 simple habits he adopted to restore his prostate, and with it, regain the sleep, autonomy, and peace he had lost. His name is Senor Pedro. At 87 years old, he no longer had the patience for doctors, let alone for waiting in line for tests, while feeling his quality of life slip away week after week. What started as something mild, a few trips to the bathroom during the night, turned into a vicious cycle. He would wake up 3, 4, sometimes 5 times before sunrise, and even then, he felt he wasn't fully emptying. He spent the day tired, with the constant feeling of a full bladder and a sudden, urgent need to urinate that made him feel insecure about even leaving the house. At first, he thought it was just age. Then came the doubt. Could it be an infection? Could it be the bladder? Only much later did he discover the problem was in the prostate. More precisely, an enlarged but benign gland, something common at his age but never clearly explained to him before. The doctor was straightforward. His prostate was enlarged, nothing abnormal for a man his age, but it was this enlargement that was pressing on the urethra and making it difficult for urine to pass. He had 2 options: start taking daily medications, which cause dizziness, headaches, and low blood pressure, or wait and monitor. Neither option seemed good enough. That's when the change happened. Guided by a relative who was an integrative therapist, he decided to try a new approach: change the habits that were fueling the prostate inflammation. He cut certain foods, started including anti-inflammatory ingredients, and adopted a sequence of 6 simple habits that transformed his routine. And the results didn't take long. Habit 1: eating raw broccoli sprouts in the morning. One of the first habits Senor Pedro adopted was to include, early in the day, a small portion of raw broccoli sprouts. He had never heard of it before. He thought broccoli was just that green vegetable served cooked at lunch. But what he started consuming was different: sprouts harvested in the first days of germination, with a mild, slightly peppery flavor that he quickly got used to eating plain or mixed with a few drops of olive oil. Behind that tiny food was one of the most powerful natural compounds science has ever identified in combating prostate inflammation: sulforaphane. This compound works by directly reducing oxidative stress and inflammation levels in the prostate tissues, the exact factors that contribute to gland enlargement and urinary symptoms. In addition, sulforaphane has a proven effect on the modulation of enzymes involved in cellular detoxification, which strengthens the immune system and protects cells against mutations. A study published in Cancer Prevention Research showed that regular consumption of broccoli sprouts significantly reduced inflammatory markers in men at high risk for prostate diseases. Another study, conducted at Johns Hopkins University, confirmed that the sulforaphane present in these sprouts is efficiently absorbed by the body and is especially active in glandular tissues, such as the prostate. Senor Pedro began eating the sprouts every day, around 8 in the morning. He didn't cook them, didn't blend them into juice, he ate them plain or with a spoonful of extra virgin olive oil. In less than 3 weeks, he noticed his daytime urinary frequency starting to decrease. At night, he would get up only once, and on some nights, not at all. And most importantly, the feeling of relief when urinating finally returned. His body had started to respond. Habit 2. Avoiding milk and dairy products at night to reduce prostate inflammation. The second habit that transformed Senor Pedro's health was cutting milk out of his nighttime routine. For decades, he drank a glass of milk before bed, thinking it helped him relax. It was an old habit, passed down in the family, that brought him a sense of comfort. But what seemed harmless was, in fact, silently worsening his prostate inflammation. Milk and dairy products, though popular, carry a high inflammatory potential in many people's bodies, especially in older individuals. This happens because lactose and milk proteins like casein can cause intestinal and hormonal inflammatory reactions, even in those without diagnosed intolerance. In addition, several studies link excessive dairy consumption with hormonal changes that directly affect prostate tissue. One of them, published in the American Journal of Epidemiology, followed more than 29,000 men over several years and concluded that those who frequently consumed whole milk had an increased risk of developing prostate issues, including benign hyperplasia and early-stage prostate cancer. In Senor Pedro's case, the effects began to change within the first week without milk. He stopped waking up so many times at night, noticed the heavy feeling in his bladder was easing, and realized that the discomfort when lying down had practically disappeared. He replaced milk with a simple alternative, warm chamomile and fennel tea. This combination, in addition to being calming, has a mild diuretic effect and helps reduce bladder spasms and relax the urinary system, which supports uninterrupted sleep and fewer awakenings. More than just cutting out of food, this habit was a turning point. He understood that prostate health doesn't depend only on what you consume to treat it, but also on what you stop consuming to avoid further inflammation. Milk, which seemed harmless, was sabotaging his rest and putting more pressure on his enlarged prostate. By removing this hidden trigger, his body responded with gratitude. Habit 3. Using pumpkin seeds as a natural supplement for the prostate. The third habit that entered Senor Pedro's routine was the daily use of pumpkin seeds. Every day in the middle of the afternoon, he would set aside a tablespoon of these seeds, raw, unsalted and unroasted, and eat them slowly, like a natural remedy. At first he thought it was strange. He had never paid attention to them, but with consistency, the results began to show. Pumpkin seeds are one of the richest natural sources of zinc, an essential mineral for healthy prostate function. Zinc acts directly in the regulation of male hormones and plays a key role in protecting prostate tissue from inflammation and abnormal growth. In addition, these seeds are rich in phytosterols, plant compounds with proven effects in reducing prostate volume and improving urinary flow in men with benign prostatic hyperplasia. A study published in the International Journal of Clinical and Experimental Medicine showed that regular consumption of pumpkin seeds in men with enlarged prostates led to significant improvement in urinary symptoms such as weak stream, urgency, incomplete emptying sensation, and number of nighttime urinations. Researchers attributed this effect to the zinc and phytosterols present in the seeds, which act directly on the enzyme 5-alpha reductase, the same enzyme involved in prostate enlargement. Senor Pedro began consuming 1 tablespoon per day, always chewing them well. Sometimes he ate them plain, other times mixed them with plant-based yogurt or fruit in the late afternoon. Within a few weeks, he noticed his urinary stream became stronger and the feeling of only half emptying began to disappear. Additionally, the intervals between trips to the bathroom became longer, and the abdominal discomfort after meals practically vanished. This simple, inexpensive, and natural habit became a permanent part of his routine. It was like taking a supplement, but without a capsule, without side effects, and without relying on a pharmacy. The seeds, small and discreet, began to act as a true shield against the progression of an enlarged prostate. And the best part, with real, visible, and daily results. Habit 4, walking after lunch to stimulate pelvic circulation. Senor Pedro's 4th habit seemed simple, but had a surprising impact. He began walking for 15 to 20 minutes every day, always after lunch. Before, he used to lie down or sit for long periods after eating, which made his body sluggish, digestion heavy, and his pelvic region practically immobile for hours. But when he started taking light walks at the same time each day, he felt not only more energetic, but also clear relief in bladder pressure and a noticeable improvement in the functioning of his urinary tract. Science explains the prostate region is highly vascularized, and prolonged sedentary behavior reduces oxygenation and makes it harder to drain inflammation from the area. When the body remains still for too long, blood circulation in the pelvis slows down, promoting the accumulation of toxins, fluid retention, and increased prostate congestion. By walking right after a meal, blood flow intensifies not only in digestion, but also in the lower parts of the body, including the prostate. Studies published in European Urology and the Journal of Urology show that men with a routine of light walking have a lower incidence of moderate and severe urinary symptoms related to benign prostatic hyperplasia. This practice reduces the risk of disease progression, improves bladder sensitivity, and helps regulate urinary frequency, especially at night. Senor Pedro adopted this habit with discipline. He would leave the house and walk around the block or even inside the house on rainy days. It wasn't intense exercise. It was light, calm, but consistent. And over time he noticed that his bladder became less sensitive, the urgency to urinate decreased, and pelvic discomfort was replaced by a new sensation of flow, as if his body had begun to function with more freedom again. This small daily movement helped not only the prostate, but also digestion, circulation, and sleep quality. It was a habit that moved the body on the outside and deflamed it on the inside. Habit 5, reducing ultra-processed and inflammatory foods. Senor Pedro's 5th habit wasn't about adding something new, but about removing what was silently fueling the problem. He began consistently avoiding ultra-processed foods, especially processed meats, industrialized products, and everything that came in a package. This included ham, sausages, filled cookies, margarines, seasoning packets, soft drinks, and even the white bread he had eaten for decades without realizing the harm it caused. These foods are rich in hydrogenated fats, artificial coloring, preservatives, and excess sodium, all powerful inflammatory agents. And in the case of an enlarged prostate, ongoing inflammation is one of the main aggravators. An aging body can no longer cope with so much chemical aggression without reacting. And the one that suffers is the prostate tissue, which swells, hardens, and starts pressing against the urethra. A study published in Prostate Cancer and Prostatic Diseases from the Nature Group showed that diets rich in ultra-processed foods increase inflammatory markers in the body and are directly associated with the worsening of benign prostatic hyperplasia symptoms. Another study, conducted in Spain with more than 10,000 men, found that those who consumed fewer processed foods had up to 50% fewer uncomfortable urinary symptoms. Senor Pedro started replacing things gradually. He swapped white bread for naturally fermented whole-grain bread. He avoided processed meats and chose boiled eggs and fresh cuts instead. He replaced soda with lemon water or homemade iced tea. And he gave up packaged seasonings, going back to using garlic, onions, and natural herbs. With these changes, his body began to deflame. His bladder felt freer, his prostate became less reactive, and digestion was lighter. He felt that little by little, the swelling decreased. The urinary urgency lost its grip, and the confidence to leave the house, even for a longer walk, returned to his life. This habit showed that many times what needs to change is not just the missing medicine, but the poison that is present every day, in small doses. Habit 6. Drinking nettle and horsetail tea before bed. The final habit that consolidated Senor Pedro's transformation was introducing a simple yet extremely effective tea. The combination of nettle and horsetail, taken every night about 1 hour before bed. This natural infusion became part of his nighttime ritual, not as a regular calming tea, but as a true natural treatment for the urinary system and prostate health. Nettle is a plant rich in anti-inflammatory and antioxidant compounds, with proven action in reducing prostate volume and improving urinary stream strength. Horsetail acts as a gentle diuretic, helping eliminate fluids without irritating the bladder, and also aids in strengthening the urinary tract. Together, these two plants form an ancient formula used in natural medicine to relieve symptoms like urinary urgency, frequent nighttime urination, and prostate inflammation. A clinical study published in the Planta Medica journal showed that regular use of nettle extract for 8 weeks led to a significant reduction in urinary symptoms in men with benign prostatic hyperplasia. Another study from the Journal of Ethnopharmacology pointed out that horsetail, in addition to its mild diuretic effects, has remineralizing properties, making it especially helpful for elderly individuals with chronic pelvic inflammation. Senor Pedro prepared the tea with 1 dessert spoon of each dried plant for 1 cup of boiling water. He let it steep for 10 minutes, strained it, and drank it while still warm. He didn't sweeten it, he simply sat in silence and made the tea a moment of slowing down. In just a few days, he noticed that his bladder no longer woke him up in the middle of the night. He felt more control, less pressure while urinating, and woke up feeling rested. Not like someone who had gone to the bathroom 5 times, but like someone who had truly slept through the night. This habit sealed the change. It was the final step of the day and the first of a new life. His prostate, once enlarged and inflamed, began to calm down, and his sleep, interrupted for years, became continuous, deep and restorative once again. Today, at 87 years old, Senor Pedro sleeps through the night without needing to get up. The pain, the discomfort, the urgency, all became part of the past. He regained control of his own body, and with it came something even greater, the confidence to leave the house, to travel, to live freely. His prostate, once enlarged, returned to balance. His body, though aged, responded with strength. And that's what needs to be said. Old age is not synonymous with decline. Even after 60, 70, 80 years, it is still possible to turn the game around. It is still possible to sleep in peace, to wake up without pain, to urinate with ease. With the right habits, simple, natural, and consistent, the prostate can improve, the body can renew itself, and life can return to being full, light, and dignified. Because aging is not the end. It's the chance to do everything with more wisdom and more health. Conclusion: we've reached the end of this inspiring story. If you made it this far and enjoyed what you learned from Senor Pedro, write in the comments, "Everything is possible for the one who believes." and rate this story from 0 to 10. Remember, healing is right by your side. Start now. See you in the next video, and may God bless you.